Your neurologist just prescribed you a seizure medication for your neuropathy. You don't have seizures, so why are you taking it? This is the brutal truth about Gabapentin, Lyrica, and Neurontin that 24 million Americans with neuropathy need to hear. These aren't neuropathy medications because there's no such thing as a neuropathy medication in conventional medicine. And the worst part, the pills that the doctor gave you to help your nerves are actually preventing them from healing. If that sounds backwards, dangerous, and frustrating, you're right. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why these treatments fail long term, what your body actually needs to heal, and why you can't out-medicate a progressive circulatory disease. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the treatment plan you've been following isn't just ineffective, it's working against your body's natural healing mechanisms. More importantly, you'll know what questions to ask your doctor and what your nerves actually need to heal and repair. Listen, I know you're exhausted. You've been told to just take this pill and give it time. And meanwhile, your symptoms are getting worse. You're waking up at 3 a.m. with your feet just burning. You're afraid to travel because you don't know if your legs will cooperate. You're watching your spouse's face when they have to help you with things that you used to do on your own, and you see the worry there. You've been doing everything you were told, so why isn't it working? I spent years treating neuropathy patients who come into me after conventional treatments have failed them. And what I'm about to share isn't my opinion. It's based on how these medications actually work in your body, what the research shows about their long-term effects, and why the current standard of care is fundamentally backwards for a condition like diabetic neuropathy. The medication you're taking was never designed to heal nerves. Let me show you something that should make you angry. According to a 2017 study published in JAMA Internal Medicine, gabapentin prescriptions for off-label uses, including neuropathy, increased by 64% between 2002 and 2015. But here's the kicker. The researchers noted that the quality of evidence supporting these off-label uses remains poor. Translation, millions of people are taking a medication that was never proven to work for their condition. So what are you actually taking? Gabapentin, or Neurontin, Lyrica, which is pregabalin, are anti-seizure medications, anticonvulsants. They were developed to calm overactive electrical signals in the brain during epileptic seizures. Seizures, the thing you don't have. So why are doctors prescribing them for neuropathy? Because there is no FDA-approved medication specifically designed to repair or regenerate damaged nerves. None. So conventional medicine defaults to symptom management. And these drugs are prescribed off-label to slow down your nervous system so you don't feel the burning, tingling, and numbness as intensely. Let me be crystal clear about what's happening here. These medications work by dampening electrical activity in your central nervous system. They don't address why your nerves are damaged. They don't improve circulation. They don't stimulate repair. They just turn down the volume on your brain's pain alarm system, and that's it. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want anybody slowing my brain down for nothing, especially when it's not even fixing the problem. When you're not healing, you're numbing. There's a massive difference. When you understand that distinction, suddenly it makes sense why patients come to me after months or even years on these medications, and their neuropathy is worse than when they started, because nothing was healing. They were just masking symptoms while the underlying nerve damage continued to progress unchecked. These medications lose their effectiveness over time, and then doctors just increase your dose. Why your neuropathy meds stop working after a few months. Here's what happens to most every single patient I talk to who's been on Gabapentin or Lyrica for more than 6 months. The medication worked great at first. Maybe for the first couple of months you actually felt some relief. The burning calmed down. You could sleep through the night. You thought, finally, something that works. Then it stopped working. So you went back to your doctor and they said, let's increase the dose. What you're experiencing isn't unique, it's predictable. Your body adapts these medications. What worked at 300 milligrams eventually requires 600, then 900, then 1800 milligrams or more. This isn't because your neuropathy is getting worse, though it might be. It's because your nervous system builds tolerance to the drug. And now you're in a cycle, right? The medication stops working. When you go back to your doctor, they increase the dose. It works again for a little while, then it stops and repeats that cycle. You know what makes this dangerous? You're now on higher and higher doses of medication that was never designed to heal your condition in the first place. You're managing symptoms while the underlying nerve damage continues to progress unchecked. I had a patient come to me last year who was on the maximum dose of gabapentin, 3,600 milligrams a day. She'd been on it for 4 years, started at 300 milligrams. By year 4, she was taking 12 pills a day and still suffering. When we tested her nerve function, it was worse than she started, because for 4 years, no one addressed her circulation. No one addressed her blood sugar dysregulation. No one addressed why her nerves were dying. They just kept increasing the dose. You're on a treadmill that only goes in one direction. More medication, more side effects, and no closer to actual healing. And that brings me to the most insane part of this whole thing. These drugs are anti-angiogenic. They prevent your body from growing new blood vessels. The medication you're taking is blocking the exact process your nerves need to heal. Here's something your doctor probably didn't tell you when they hand you that prescription. Research published in Angiogenesis shows that gabapentin and pregabalin exhibit an anti-angiogenic properties. In plain English, they inhibit the formation of new blood vessels. Now, why does that matter? Because peripheral nerve regeneration is heavily dependent on adequate vascular supply. Your nerves need blood flow to heal, period. Let me break this down for you so that you understand why this is so backwards. Angiogenesis is the formation of new blood vessels. This is how your body delivers oxygen, nutrients, and repair signals to damaged tissue, including damaged nerves. Diabetic neuropathy is a progressive circulatory disease. High blood sugar damages the small blood vessels. We call this microvascular damage that supply your peripheral nerves. So without adequate blood flow, your nerves can't get the oxygen and nutrients they need to survive, let alone repair. So you have a condition caused by poor circulation to your nerves, and you're being prescribed medications that prevent new blood vessel formation. This is like giving a drowning person a weight vest. You can't out-medicate neuropathy. If that was the case, and hear this, 24 million people a year, including yourself, wouldn't be suffering from this condition. And all that gabapentin you're taking would work, but it doesn't. They're literal crazy pills. Every day you're on these medications without addressing circulation and metabolic root causes, you're not just standing still, you're actually moving backwards. Your nerves are suffocating, and the medication that's supposed to help you is cutting off their oxygen supply even more. The side effects are dangerous, including cognitive decline and dementia risk. The long-term side effects your doctor didn't warn you about. Now, let's talk about what these medications are doing to your brain. A 2019 study in neurology found that older adults using gabapentinoids had significantly higher rates of cognitive decline and increased risk of dementia compared to non-users. The researchers know that these effects were dose-dependent and more pronounced in patients over 65. Let me read you that side effect list. Dizziness, drowsiness, confusion, memory problems, weight gain, swelling, mood changes, depression, and yes, increased dementia risk with long-term use. Who's most at risk for these side effects? It's the exact demographic most likely to have diabetic neuropathy. Adults over 55 is also the demographic most vulnerable to cognitive side effects from these drugs. Here's the cruel irony though. You're already dealing with a condition that limits your independence and quality of life. Now add brain fog, memory issues, and fatigue from the medication that's supposed to help you. You're trading one prison for another. Patients describe feeling like zombies, unable to think clearly, losing motivation, withdrawing from activities not just because of pain, but because of the medication's effect on their mental clarity. One of my patients told me she stopped going to her book club because she couldn't remember what she read anymore. Another told me he felt like he was losing himself because he couldn't focus on long enough to have a conversation with his grandkids. That's not living, that's surviving, barely. You have to ask yourself, is temporary symptom relief worth sacrificing your cognitive function, energy, and long-term brain health? Because that's the trade you're making, and no one told you that when they wrote you the prescription. Conventional treatment ignores root causes, and that's why it fails. Why symptom management will never heal your neuropathy. Here's the fundamental problem with everything we talked about so far. None of it addresses why you have neuropathy. Let me explain what's actually causing diabetic neuropathy. Chronic high blood sugar damages the endothelial lining of small blood vessels. That's microvascular disease. It reduces circulation to peripheral nerves. It triggers inflammatory cascades. It impairs the body's natural repair mechanisms. The nerves aren't getting the oxygen and nutrients that they need, so they malfunction and eventually die. That's diabetic neuropathy. Now, what does conventional treatment address? Pain signals. That's it. What does it ignore? Blood sugar dysregulation, systemic inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, oxidative stress, vascular health, the metabolic environment that's causing ongoing nerve damage. All of it ignored. You can't medicate your way out of a lifestyle and metabolic disease. Neuropathy isn't a gabapentin deficiency. It's a circulation and metabolic problem that requires a circulation and metabolic solution. And this is why 24 million people are still suffering, because the current standard of care is designed to manage symptoms, not reverse the condition. And as long as the root causes remain unaddressed, the disease will continue to progress, regardless of how many pills you take. If you want actual healing, you need a treatment approach that restores circulation, reduces inflammation, supports nerve regeneration, and addresses the metabolic dysfunction driving the damage. Anything less is just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. And I don't say that to be dramatic. I say it because I've seen what happens when patients stay on the conventional path for 5-10 years. Their symptoms get worse, their medications get stronger, their quality of life deteriorates. And the whole time, no one is fixing the problem. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, okay, so medications don't work long term, then what does? That's exactly the right question. At our clinic here in the Quad Cities, we use a doctor-led, research-backed protocol that focuses on restoring circulation to damaged nerves, reducing systemic inflammation, and supporting your body's natural healing mechanisms without surgery or lifelong medication. We've helped hundreds of people reduce or eliminate their neuropathy symptoms using a combination of advanced therapies, metabolic optimization, and education-first care. So, if you're tired of being told your only options are pills or surgery and you're ready for a clear plan that it actually addresses why your nerves are damaged, I'll put a link in the description to schedule a consultation with our team. We will review your case, explain exactly what's happening in your body, and show you whether you're a candidate for our program. So here's what we covered today. The medications you're taking, Gabapentin, Lyrica, Neurontin, aren't neuropathy drugs. They're anti-seizure medications prescribed off-label to slow your brain down and mask symptoms. They lose effectiveness over time, leading to dose escalation and a vicious cycle of increasing side effects. They actively prevent the formation of new blood vessels, the exact process your damaged nerves need to heal. The long-term side effects include cognitive decline, dementia, and a laundry list of quality of life issues. And most importantly, conventional treatments ignores the root cause, which is why it fails long term. If you're frustrated, angry, or feeling betrayed by a system that's been managing your symptoms instead of healing you, you have every right to feel that way. You've been doing everything you were told, and it hasn't worked. That's not your fault. Now that you understand why conventional neuropathy treatments fail long term, you need to know what actually works. In my next video, the 3 things your nerves need to heal that your doctor never mentioned, I'll show you exactly how to reverse neuropathy by addressing the root cause, not just masking symptoms. Click the video on the screen now, or check the link in the description to schedule a consultation and get a personalized plan.